Welcome to my kitchen. Nothing makes your house smell as wonderful as fresh bread baking in the oven. And nothing keeps your family at home like fresh baked bread either. Today I'm going to share my personal favorite bread recipe with you. I started making this recipe when Richard and I were dating back in college. And believe me when I say it went straight to his heart. Well, let's get started. Baking bread is really so easy. Most people think it's hard because the entire process takes so much time. But actually, it's very easy to do. You start with what we call proofing the yeast. Simply take a half a cup of water that's heated to about 110 degrees. That's about as warm as a shower or a baby's bottle that you feed your baby. You can use a thermometer if in doubt, but get your water nice and hot, which I've already done here. Then sprinkle the yeast over the water. This is 2 packages of active dry yeast that I have here. So I'll just sprinkle that into my hot water. And then I'll stir it up just a little bit, and we're going to let that sit about 10 minutes. When it becomes bubbly, you know that it's ready and your yeast is proof. Now see how it's kind of has little clumps at the beginning? That's okay. It's going to start getting active here in just a moment, and I may stir that one more time, but look at that. It's already dissolving. That's because our water was at the right temperature. Here's another tip. The yeast has to be fresh. If not, your bread won't rise and you'll be so disappointed. So check the expiration date on the package. Don't use it if it's old, no matter how tempting. Go to the store and get more. Well, while that's proofing, let's mix the rest of the wet ingredients together. This is so easy. Then we'll add our flours. So I've got 2 cups of warm water. Now this is more lukewarm water or room temperature than hot. So we've got our water. Now incidentally, water makes a crispier loaf while milk or cream products make it softer and creamier. Just depends what you're going for. Then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of oil. You can use canola, or for a little flavor, try the walnut and the hazelnut oils. They're great, especially when you're making cinnamon raisin bread. So I've got a 1/4 cup of my oil here. That's easy. Now we've got 3 tablespoons of honey from my friend Janet, the bee charmer. Honey's a great sweetener because it feeds the yeast and it's nutritious as well. So we'll just get that honey in there. That looks good. All right, now we're going to add a little applesauce. This gives the bread a softness and texture as well as some flavor. Just dump and pour. It's so easy. You can do this. I mean, back when I made this in college, I didn't have all these wonderful dishes, so I'd make it in this huge plastic Tupperware that I got at a garage sale. Worked just great. So it doesn't matter how you have to mix it up. It can be great. Just look like that. That's really good. Now I have an interesting ingredient. This is one you probably haven't heard of. I'm going to add a tablespoon of soy lecithin granules. Look at these. They're just kind of looks like bee pollen, doesn't? But it's not. It's soy lecithin. You can get these at Bio Innovations, or you can get them at your local health food store. Now, lecithin is an emulsifier. It's essential for good loaf of bread, especially when you're working with whole grain flours. It keeps the moisture in the loaf, and it makes a softer, chewier texture and a softer crust. It actually acts like a binder and keeps the ingredients evenly suspended throughout the loaf. That's great. And for the health benefits of lecithin, since it's an emulsifier, it helps break down fats in the body, which makes it ideal for combating high cholesterol and fatty liver problems. Some people say it helps them lose weight because it breaks down body fat. All right, that's stirred up nicely. Now I'm going to check on that yeast. That's looking really good. See, you just want to make sure that you get all those clumps down in there, and then it should be ready. There we go. That looks really good. I think we can add that to our mixture now. We'll put that in. Just pour that right in there, and then we will add our dry ingredients. Kind of keep my work surface going here because we've got a lot of fun ahead of us. All right, so we're just going to stir that in, and then we're going to add the oats. I have a 1/4 cup of rolled oats. I love oats. They give a nice texture to the bread as well. Okay, just get that in there. Now we're going to put in the salt and our dry ingredients. Now, I didn't add the salt earlier because I wanted that yeast to get through proofing. If you add salt too early, nothing works because the salt controls the yeast growth. If you add it too soon, your bread won't rise and you'll be disappointed. So you're going to want to make sure you do that when you put your flours in. Now, speaking of flour, let's talk about the kind of flour that's really good, okay? We're going to use some soy flour here too. Put that in there along with our salt. Now, this is going to be a whole grain loaf. This is so healthy. But when you go to the grocery store and you pick out your flour, no matter how you're tempted, don't get pastry or cake flour. It won't work. It doesn't have enough protein to turn into gluten, so it won't rise. So don't get that kind. But we want as much whole grain as we can, so we have our stone ground whole wheat flour, but you also need to use an unbleached regular all-purpose flour or a flour that works for breads. And it will say on the label that it's made for breads. That's really good. Okay, now I put in my soy flour, but I'm going to start working in the regular flour first because I want all of this, which is 3 cups. Then I'm going to put 3 cups of the whole wheat. And the reason I do it in that order is because I will adjust the quantity of flour according to the humidity in the air. Like I'm in a colder studio, so it might be a little bit different than at home, whichever works. So just 1 cup at a time and work that in there. So I'll stir that up. This can take a little bit of time, but it's so rewarding and it's so much fun. It's really not hard. It's just mixing. And it's going to be a little sticky, but that's okay. All right, I've got 1. I like to measure my flours exact, that way I know. So that was 2. Now we're going to just put that over like that. Use your hands. Go to 3. No problem. All right, so we've got that soy. Soy is a great protein. You know that? Soy is a really great protein source. And it's a fine flour, so it can give a little softness to your loaf. All right, mixing up good. Now let's get our whole wheat flours. Just swap those out. This is stone ground whole wheat, which is so good for you. But see how much denser that is? I mean, I can feel the weight difference just in my cup right there. All right, that's 2, 1 more to go. I do that so I won't forget how many I put in. Sometimes the phone will ring or I'll start talking to one of the girls and then I think, oh, did I put 2 or 3? And who knows how it will turn out. You don't want to do that. All right, that's looking pretty good. You know, those really neat mixers they have with dough hooks work too if you have that, but this isn't so bad. It's kind of fun actually. See how it's starting to form already? The gluten is taking place. That's when you add the liquid to the flour. There's 2 proteins in there that turn into gluten. And that's kind of interesting. It's really fun looking at all that research, and that's a good thing that Richard does for me. He helps me learn all that. All right. I think we'll just go ahead and go for that other cup. Looks like it needs it. Start with a half there. And it's going to get kind of stiff, and that's okay. You'll know that it's done, meaning ready to turn out and knead, when it's sticky, but yet it stays into a formed ball. Like we're almost there now, but not quite. So we're going to need to add a little more flour. And then I'll save some flour, too, that I will use when I work it in when I need it, because I don't want it to be tough, and I don't want it to have too much flour. So that's why I let it stay a little bit gooey and sticky like this when I turn it out to start the kneading process. All right, just a little bit more because it needs it. Now, if you're so lucky that you have a marble or granite top to work on, that's really a good work surface. But if not, you can use a cutting board like I have, or you can use your tabletop and just clean it off good. Maybe even one of those big mats they sell. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, to turn that out, let's get these things out of our way here. And now I'm done with my whole wheat flour. You're going to want to use the other kind of flour to work with. So we'll take this under here and just scoop a little bit of flour on your work surface. And I usually will take and put some on the edge because I like to be able just to reach to it. Be sure you push your sleeves up because you can make a mess, but oh, what fun. So a well-floured work surface is key to this. So here we go. Let's take this bread, just like that, and then I'll take a little bit of flour and I'll just sprinkle over it. Pat on there, then the fun begins. All right, this is still turning out nice. I'm going to move this bowl because I need more room. Wow, TV land is fun, isn't it? Okay, so what you're going to do when you want to knead this, make sure you have it nice and floured and your hands are nice and floured. Then you simply take your heels of your hands, push it away from you, pull it back. It is so easy. Make a quarter turn, push, come back. So easy, but so good. And now this works really well if you can put it on a surface that's a little bit lower, because then you can throw your body weight into it. Okay, now since like I was talking about the temperature, and don't be afraid to adjust your recipe according to the temperature, because like for instance in the studio today, since it's cold in here, we don't have much humidity, so I'm finding that I'm needing a lot more flour, and that's okay. You know, like I said when I started making this bread when I was in college, so I brought a picture to show you of me kneading the bread that I was making. Can you believe that's me? Good times. Well, just keep going at it for about 10 minutes and you'll know it's done when it's smooth, springy, and no longer sticky. Well, stay with me because when we come back, we're going to put it into rise.